The blade stopped a finger's width from Elias' throat. He did not flinch. The alien court gasped anyway, a sharp intake of breath that echoed through the vaulted chamber like a single frightened creature. Elias kept his eyes forward, his pulse loud in his ears, his jaw clenched tight enough to ache. One wrong move would mean death, or worse, failure in front of her. Princess Erin stood before him, her arm steady, the ceremonial blade glowing faintly blue in her hand. She looked nothing like an executioner. Her fair skin caught the warm light spilling through the crystal ceiling. Long, dark brown hair flowed down her back, threaded with gold and turquoise jewelry that marked her royal bloodline. A delicate headpiece rested against her brow, and her expression, calm, distant, unreadable, hurt more than the weapon ever could. Elias had guarded her for 3 years. He had never seen her like this. "Do you swear," Erin said, her voice even, "that your loyalty is unbroken?" "Yes," Elias answered without hesitation. The blade inched closer. Elias felt the hum of alien energy brush his skin. The weapon could slice through reinforced armor, through bone, through thought. Yet what unsettled him was not fear, but confusion. This was not how guards were tested. Not here, not now. The court was full. Nobles in layered silks whispered behind jeweled hands. Advisors watched with narrowed eyes. The queen's throne stood empty, as if the room itself were holding its breath. This was deliberate. Erin lowered the blade at last, but her gaze lingered on him, searching, weighing. Something flickered in her eyes, uncertainty, quickly hidden. "You may step back," she said. Elias obeyed, retreating to his position beside the throne dais. Only when his hands curled into fists did he realize they were shaking. "What are you doing, Erin?" The question burned in his chest, unspoken and dangerous. Hours later, the palace corridors were quiet, lit by floating orbs that hummed softly as they drifted. Elias stood outside the princess's private chambers, armored in black and gold, the colors of his oath. His beard was neatly trimmed, his posture rigid, but his thoughts were anything but steady. This morning, she had almost killed him. This evening, she had summoned him alone. The doors slid open without a sound. Erin stood inside, no longer carrying a blade. Her bridal regalia remained, though gold and turquoise gleaming against her skin. It was strange to see her dressed for union when no ceremony had been announced. Stranger still to realize the sight tightened his chest. "Enter," she said softly. Elias stepped inside, the doors sealing behind him. The chamber smelled faintly of alien blossoms and cool stone. A balcony overlooked the palace gardens, where bioluminescent plants glowed like stars fallen to the ground. Erin turned her back to him. "Do you know why humans are admired here?" she asked. Elias hesitated. "Because we adapt." "Because you endure," she corrected. "Because you stay even when you should run." She faced him then, her expression vulnerable in a way he had never seen. No court, no witnesses, just them. "I am to be married," she said. Elias already knew that. The rumors had spread like fire through the palace, a political union, a powerful match, necessary for peace. His chest tightened anyway. "I know, Your Highness." Her lips pressed together. "Tomorrow I will announce my choice." Silence stretched between them. Then she stepped closer. "Tonight," she continued, "I need to know something, and I cannot ask it plainly." Elias met her gaze, his heart pounding. "Then tell me what you need me to do." Erin studied him as if memorizing every line of his face, every scar earned in her service. "I am going to give you a command," she said, "one that will cost you everything." She reached out, fingers brushing the edge of his armor. The touch was brief, electric, gone too soon. "If you pass," she whispered, "nothing in my life will ever be the same." Elias swallowed. "And if I fail?" Her eyes softened, just for a moment. "Then I will never speak of this again." Outside, the gardens shimmered. Inside, something fragile and dangerous had begun to form. And Elias realized, far too late, that this was not a test of loyalty. It was a test of the heart. Erin's command came softly, almost gently. Leave the palace. Elias blinked once, certain he had misheard. Tonight, she added, without explanation, without farewell, you will remove your armor, your insignia, and your name from the guard registry. You will walk past the outer gates as if you were nothing more than another forgotten human. The words struck harder than any blade. My duty, Elias began, then stopped. He forced himself to breathe. If this is an order, I will obey, but I don't understand. That, Aaron said quietly, is the point. She turned away again, facing the balcony. From here, the gardens looked endless, glowing vines curling around stone paths like living veins. The future of her empire rested on decisions made in rooms like this, with voices lowered and hearts held tight. You will not contact me, she continued. You will not defend my name if you hear it spoken in cruelty. You will not intervene if danger comes near. Elias' throat tightened. You want me to abandon you? Her shoulders stiffened. I want to know if you can trust me. Silence filled the chamber, thick and suffocating. Elias stared at the back of the woman he had sworn his life to protect. Memories pressed in, standing between her and an assassin's blast, nights spent outside her door while storms rattled the palace, quiet moments when she would pause beside him and ask about Earth, about oceans and rain. He had never asked for more. I will go, he said at last. Aaron's breath caught just barely. Elias reached up and unclasped the black and gold insignia from his shoulder. The metal felt heavier than it should have. He placed it carefully on the table beside her, next to a bowl of glowing petals. If this is your test, he said, voice steady despite the ache spreading through his chest, then I will not fail it by clinging to what I want. She turned then, eyes shining in the low light. Go, she whispered. He did not look back. The outer gates recognized him instantly. His clearance dissolved with a soft chime, his name fading from the palace network like a breath erased from glass. Guards who once nodded to him looked through him now, their expressions blank and polite. Elias stepped into the city as no one. Alien streets curved and spiraled, built for minds and bodies unlike his own. Floating lights drifted overhead. Traders called out in languages that bent sound in strange ways. For the first time since arriving on this world, Elias felt truly alone. By morning, the announcement came. Princess Erin would wed Prince Kale of the Virelian Reach. The city erupted in celebration. Elias heard the news from a public broadcast flickering across a market wall. Cheers rose around him. Streamers unfurled. Children laughed as holographic flowers bloomed in the air. His chest hollowed. So this is it, he thought. This is what trusting her costs. He moved on. Days passed. Elias took work where he could, dock labor, security shifts for merchants who distrusted palace guards. He kept his head down, his voice quiet. Rumors traveled faster than ships, and his name had once carried weight. At night, he dreamed of her. Not of a princess, but of a woman standing alone on a balcony, fingers clenched around the railing as if holding herself together. On the fifth night, trouble found him. A group of off-world mercenaries cornered him near the lower transit tunnels. Their armor bore no crest, their weapons unregistered. You're human, one of them said, smiling without warmth. Funny thing, we were told to keep an eye out for a guard who went missing. Elias' muscles tensed. You have the wrong man. The mercenary laughed. Princess's pet always said that. Elias fought them without drawing a weapon. He disarmed, disabled, escaped. But as he fled into the maze of tunnels, one thought burned brighter than fear. They are watching her. That night, palace alarms rang across the city. Elias stood on a rooftop, listening to the distant echo of sirens. Smoke rose near the upper spires. His instincts screamed at him to run toward the danger, to do what he had always done. Protect her. Instead, he stayed where he was. He clenched his fists until his palms bled. Trust, he reminded himself, this is the test. Far above, Erin stood before the court, calm and radiant in her ceremonial attire. But beneath the gold and turquoise, her heart pounded wildly. She had watched the attack unfold from behind reinforced glass. She had waited for him to appear. He did not. For the first time, she smiled through her fear, because that absence told her something no vow ever could. And the real test was only beginning. Elias had expected emptiness. The city had delivered it in waves. Every face he passed was indifferent. Every street corner a reminder that he had no rank, no place, no name. Yet tonight, as the twin moons rose over the spires of the palace, he felt a different kind of tension, a whisper that something unseen had shifted. The market district was quiet. Most merchants had shuttered their stalls, their floating signs dimmed. Only the soft hum of distant transport vehicles carried through the alleys. Elias moved like a ghost, alert to every sound. The mercenaries who had cornered him days ago had left a mark, not just on his body, but on his mind. A shadow shifted across a wall. Elias froze, sensing the rhythm of movement, deliberate, measured, not random. His hand hovered near the dagger at his belt, though he had promised himself he would not draw it unless absolutely necessary. "Human guard," a voice called soft, smooth, carrying a lilt he would never forget. Elias' heart stuttered. He scanned the alley, nothing. "Who's there?" he demanded, voice low but firm. "Do you really think you can vanish?" The voice whispered, closer now, yet invisible. Elias recognized it instantly. Erin. "Princess," he said, incredulous. His instincts screamed that she was too far, too protected, too royal to risk appearing here. Yet the voice was unmistakable. A figure stepped from the shadows. Her ceremonial robes had been replaced by a simple cloak, turquoise and gold embroidery glinting faintly in the moonlight. Her hair tumbled around her shoulders, unbound, softening the sharp lines of her regal face. But her eyes, those dark brown eyes, were fixed on him with intensity that left him breathless. "You passed the first part," she said, moving closer, barely touching the cobblestones, as if floating. "I needed to see if you could stay away when it hurt you most." Elias struggled to find words. I waited as you asked. I didn't intervene." Her lips curved in a faint, knowing smile. "Exactly. You trusted me, even when your instincts screamed otherwise. Most humans would have defied me, run back into danger to prove loyalty. You didn't." He wanted to speak, to say that his instincts hadn't stopped him, that he had fought every impulse not to rush back to her, not to ensure she was safe. But Erin held up a hand. "This is only the beginning," she warned. "There's another test, and it will hurt you more than the first." Elias stiffened. "Another test." Erin tilted her head, her gaze piercing. "Yes, you must endure something far greater than absence. You must face misunderstanding, and you must survive it, not just physically, but emotionally." Before he could question her further, the sound of wings sliced the night air. Massive, sleek, armored creatures descended from the rooftops, their eyes glowing a cold, mechanical blue. They were not human, not Virelian, not any species he recognized. They were mercenaries hired by someone with wealth, power, and malice. Elias' training surged forward. He lunged, striking the nearest creature with precise force, but Erin stopped him. Her hands pressed against his chest, and in the softest whisper she said, "Do not fight." "Do not, they'll kill you," Elias shouted, tension snapping through him. "They won't touch me," she replied. "This is part of the trial. You must resist the urge to save me." His stomach twisted. Every fiber of his being screamed to act, to defend her, to leap into danger. And yet he obeyed. His fists hung at his sides as the creatures circled. Erin stood calm, almost serene, amidst the threat. Her voice, gentle but commanding, resonated through the air. "Leave or face consequences you cannot escape." To Elias' shock, the creatures hesitated. They shrank back as if some invisible barrier pressed against them. One of them struck the edge of the courtyard walls, scraping metal against stone, but no further aggression came. Elias' chest heaved. He had never felt fear and awe mixed like this, fear for her safety, awe at her power, and still he stayed. When the creatures finally departed, retreating into the shadows, Elias exhaled a trembling breath. Erin turned to him, her gaze softening, and for the first time, a flicker of vulnerability broke through her composed exterior. "You see," she said, voice almost a whisper, I can face them, I cannot face losing you. Elias felt his chest tighten, his resolve cracking. Aaron. She reached out, brushing her hand lightly across his cheek. The touch was fleeting, intimate, and it sent a shock through him. You've passed the second test, she murmured, but the final one is the hardest, and it begins now. Elias swallowed, heart hammering, mind racing. What is it? Her lips pressed together, hiding a smile that was both teasing and terrifying. You will see, she said. But know this, you have already surprised me, human, and the outcome may not be what you expect. The wind whispered through the city rooftops, carrying a promise of trials yet to come. And Elias realized that his loyalty was no longer just about duty. It was about something far deeper, something he could not name and could not resist. Behind her calm exterior, Aaron's own heart raced. The test was turning into something unpredictable, dangerous, and utterly human. And for the first time, she wondered if she had created a trial that neither of them could survive unchanged. And somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching, waiting for the next move. The palace was quiet, too quiet. Elias had returned uninvited, unarmed, invisible in the eyes of the guards. He moved like a shadow, following the familiar corridors to the princess's chambers. Each step was heavy with anticipation, every heartbeat echoing in his chest. The city outside slept under the twin moons, but inside, tension lingered like a living thing. Aaron awaited him. She stood near the balcony, gazing at the glowing gardens below. Her expression was unreadable, yet the glow of the moonlight kissed her fair skin and dark hair, giving her an almost ethereal radiance. Gold and turquoise jewelry caught the soft light, but it was her eyes, those deep brown, almost human eyes, that held him captive. You're here, she said, not a question, but an acknowledgement of something she had both feared and hoped. Elias exhaled sharply. I didn't leave, not really. I obeyed. Her lips curved ever so slightly. You obeyed, you trusted me, twice. Most humans would have failed, but trust is not enough. Elias frowned, confusion tightening his jaw. What do you mean? Aaron turned fully to face him. The princess he had sworn to protect was now only a woman before him, vulnerable and commanding all at once. The final test, she said softly, is not about loyalty, it's about truth. She stepped closer, bridging the distance between them. He could see every detail now, the delicate lines of her face, the faint blush on her cheeks, the small tremor in her hand. I need to know if you will face me as I truly am, without fear, without judgment, without expectation. Elias' chest tightened. I don't understand. You will, she said, reaching out to touch his shoulder. But you must promise me you will not look away no matter what you see. He nodded, uncertain but willing. With a deep breath, she whispered, I am not just the princess you serve. I am also part of an alliance you do not know. One that carries secrets you cannot ignore, and if you react wrongly, it could destroy everything. Before he could speak, Aaron's form shimmered. Her human features blurred, elongated, and then reformed into a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. A being of delicate, translucent wings, luminous patterns across her skin, and eyes that glowed faintly like molten gold. The transformation was fluid, mesmerizing, terrifying. Elias' knees threatened to buckle. Aaron, his voice was barely audible. She reached out, placing her hand over his heart. Look at me, Elias, not the princess, not the figure the court demands. Look at me as I truly am. Can you do that? He swallowed, a mixture of awe, fear, and something far more intimate coursing through him. I can, I will. Her wings fluttered softly, brushing against the air. Good, she whispered. Because this truth, it changes everything, and it will test the limits of what you feel, what you are willing to risk. Elias' mind raced. He had faced armies, mercenaries, and impossible odds, but nothing had prepared him for this, seeing the woman he loved, or perhaps had loved long before he realized it, in her truest, most vulnerable form. Aaron stepped closer, the air around them warm, charged with a strange energy. The moment you see me like this, everything you thought you knew about duty, loyalty, even love, it will be challenged. And yet, her voice faltered for the briefest moment, I hope you will still stay. Elias reached for her hand, brushing against her luminous skin. A shiver ran through him, not of fear but of recognition, of connection. "I'm not leaving," he said, voice firm despite the whirlwind of emotions. "Whatever you are, whatever this test is, I'm not leaving you." Her expression softened, the transformation fading slightly as she looked at him. Then, maybe the human heart is stronger than I thought. Before Elias could process her words, a sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Security turrets clicked, and the doors to the chamber slid open. Figures in sleek armor stormed inside, agents from an enemy faction who had somehow infiltrated the palace, seeking the princess and the secrets she carried. Elias' instincts roared to life. "Stay behind me," he commanded, stepping in front of Aaron. But she shook her head, her wings flaring. "No, this is part of the test. You must face this, not just to protect me, but to see if you truly understand who I am." The enemy agents hesitated, unnerved by her presence. But Elias didn't wait. He lunged forward, moving with precision and strength, fighting to hold the intruders at bay. Every strike was calculated, every motion deliberate. Yet even as he battled, he kept glancing at her, gauging her, learning her. Aaron's voice called softly through the chaos, "Trust me and trust yourself." And in that moment, Elias realized that the trial had never been about obedience or silence. It had always been about understanding her completely and proving that his heart and courage could withstand truth, even when it terrified him. Outside, the palace gardens glowed under the moons, serene and unthreatening. Inside, fire, steel, and raw emotion collided, and Elias knew that nothing, not even danger, would make him turn away. The chaos in the chamber faded like smoke. The intruders had retreated, unnerved by Aaron's presence and Elias' unrelenting defense, but the aftermath left the air thick with tension. Broken vases, scorched stone, and the faint scent of ozone from alien energy weapons lingered, yet neither of them moved to repair it. Their eyes were locked, worlds of unspoken words swirling between them. Erin sank onto the edge of the balcony, her hands trembling slightly as she traced the glowing patterns on her wrist, a mark of her true heritage, hidden from all but Elias now. "You stayed," she whispered, barely audible. "Even when you could have run, even when I asked you not to." Elias lowered his arms, still catching his breath, his gaze fixed on her. "I told you I wouldn't leave, not for anything, not even for this," he said, his voice rough, raw. I don't care what you are, I don't care what you hide, you're still you." Erin's eyes glistened, a flicker of something fragile, fear, hope, longing passed across her face. Do you mean that? Even after seeing me like this, after seeing my true form?" He took a step closer, heart hammering. "You're not just a princess. You're more than politics, more than ceremony. You're human to me, Erin, in every way that matters." For the first time, the distance between them collapsed. He reached for her hand, their fingers brushing. The touch sent an electric current through both of them, soft but undeniable. Erin's wings trembled slightly behind her, glowing faintly as if mirroring the warmth rising between them. "I've never said anything like this," she admitted, voice trembling. "I've been careful my whole life, always careful because power demands restraint, because people expect me to be untouchable, unfeeling. But you make me want to risk everything." Elias' jaw tightened. "Then let's stop pretending. Let's stop hiding behind titles and duties. I've fought beside you. I've waited when it hurt to wait. I've trusted you even when it scared me. And now I don't want to wait anymore." Her breath caught. She looked at him, eyes wide, searching, vulnerable. "Elias, if I say yes, if I admit what I feel, everything changes. The court, the alliances, the empire, everything. Can you handle that?" He stepped closer, placing his hand over hers, feeling the warmth, the pulse. "I've handled wars, enemies, and impossible odds. I can handle this. You, whatever comes." Erin's lips parted slightly, her expression softening, the barriers she had built around her heart trembling. "You really mean that?" He nodded, unwavering. "I do, and you don't have to test me anymore. I'm here, always." Tears glimmered in her eyes. Slowly, she leaned in. Their foreheads touched first, a gentle press, tentative but full of trust. Then their lips met in a fleeting kiss, soft, trembling, a promise that needed no words. It was a kiss that carried years of restraint, fear, and devotion, all melting into one undeniable truth. The world outside the balcony ceased to exist. The glowing gardens, the moonlight, the palace walls, all faded to insignificance. In that moment they were not princess and guard, not ruler and subject. They were simply two hearts, finally acknowledging the bond that had quietly grown through danger, patience, and trust. When they pulled back, Erin rested her forehead against his chest, breathing heavily. "I should have told you sooner," she admitted. "But I had to be certain. You were always my answer, Elias. I just didn't know it until now." He tightened his arms around her. "And now you know, and I'll never leave you." Erin looked up at him, a shy smile breaking through the veil of royal composure. "Then, no more tests." Elias chuckled softly, brushing a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. "No more tests, only us, from now on only us." For the first time, she allowed herself to believe it, believe that love could exist even in a world of duty, betrayal, and expectation. She allowed herself to rest against him, warm, safe, human, and cherished. But as their hands intertwined and the glow of the moons bathed them, neither noticed the faint figure watching from the shadows of the balcony above. A quiet, deliberate observer whose intentions were far from pure, and whose next move could shatter everything they had just admitted. A test had ended, but the real trial, the one that could tear them apart, was only beginning. The palace was restless. Despite the celebration of the princess's secret admission and the quiet thrill of her bond with Elias, unseen eyes moved through corridors, scanning, listening, plotting. Shadows stretched longer than they should, and whispers of discontent ran like fire through the court. Elias and Erin had spent the morning in the private gardens, their hands entwined, hearts beating in tandem, sharing words and touches too long denied. The danger of the world felt distant, irrelevant, because here, together, they were invincible. Or so they thought. A sharp knock on the chamber doors shattered the fragile calm. "Elias," Erin whispered, panic threading her tone. "I something coming." He moved instinctively to the threshold, eyes scanning the corridor. Two palace guards stood frozen, weapons lowered, faces pale. Behind them, a group of cloaked figures pushed forward, weapons glowing faintly in unnatural colors. Elias recognized them immediately, the same mercenaries who had tested him days ago in the market. But these were different, coordinated, precise, fearless. Erin stepped forward, wings rising subtly, glowing in warning. "This is no ordinary attack. They're here for something specific for me." Elias placed himself in front of her, arm across her chest protectively. "We fight together," he said, voice low but firm. "No more tests, no more waiting." The mercenaries advanced, a storm of movement and calculated violence. Elias moved like lightning, every strike precise, disarming, incapacitating without hesitation. He shielded Erin from every attack, his strength fueled not just by duty, but by fear of losing the woman he had just allowed into his heart. Erin did not stay passive. Her wings flared, releasing a dazzling pulse of energy that threw back the attackers. Her true form shimmered, alien and magnificent, every gesture a weapon and a warning. But the strain showed in her expression, the tremor in her hands, the faint glow of exhaustion around her eyes. Elias realized then that she had been holding back, trusting him to balance their efforts. "You're not alone," he shouted over the chaos. "I'm here." The mercenaries faltered, unnerved by their combined force. But a leader emerged, taller, armored in black and crimson, with a mask hiding all but glowing eyes. This figure moved with eerie precision, sidestepping their strikes, countering every attack. Elias felt the chill of real danger for the first time since Erin's tests had begun. Erin's voice cut through the tension. "He's not like the others. Elias, trust me." Without hesitation, Elias obeyed. He mirrored her movements, letting her lead, following her cues. Together they became a single unit, human instinct and alien power perfectly synchronized. Every strike, every dodge, every push was seamless. The attackers were formidable, but their coordination faltered against this unexpected unity. Finally, with a combined effort, they incapacitated the leader. The remaining mercenaries fled, leaving behind faint scorch marks, broken walls, and a lingering threat that had not yet been named. Breathing heavily, Elias turned to Erin. "Are you okay?" His hand found hers instantly, gripping tightly. She nodded, though her wings drooped slightly with fatigue. Yes, thanks to you. Again, you surprised me. You really are extraordinary, human. Elias shook his head. Not extraordinary, just not leaving you no matter what, that's all. For a moment, silence wrapped around them. The danger had passed, yet both knew it was only temporary. Their bond had been forged through trials, but this attack had revealed something more. A hidden enemy, one that was aware of both Aaron's power and the depth of Elias' devotion. Aaron's eyes darkened, a flicker of worry crossing her face. "This wasn't random," she said quietly. "Someone knows about us. Someone knows about the truth you now carry with you." Elias tightened his fist. "Then we find them. Whoever it is, they'll learn the same thing I have. You're not alone. I'm not leaving you. Not for politics, not for power, not for anything." Aaron smiled, faint but genuine. Her hand pressed against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and unshakable. "I trust you, Elias, more than I ever thought possible, but the next trial may not be something we can face together easily." The wind whispered through the palace spires, carrying an unspoken threat. Somewhere in the shadows, a new player was waiting, calculating, patient. They had tested them indirectly, pushed them to their limits, and now the real game was about to begin. Elias and Aaron stood together on the balcony, hearts racing, hands clasped, eyes locked. The danger had changed. The stakes had multiplied. And yet the bond they had fought so hard to admit was now their greatest strength. No one could have predicted what would come next. The palace was silent, not the calm of peace, but the tense quiet before a storm. The city outside slept, unaware that danger had crept inside the walls they trusted most. Elias and Aaron stood together in the private balcony garden, hands entwined, hearts pounding. They could feel it, the weight of eyes, unseen but watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "I know who sent them," Aaron whispered, wings partially unfurled, shimmering faintly. "A faction within the court, someone who wants to use me as a pawn, and now they know about us being together." Elias pressed his hand over hers. "Then we face them, together, like we always should." She nodded, taking a deep breath. "But this is not just about survival. This is the final test, one that will challenge everything you feel, everything we've built." The doors to the balcony slid open with a hiss. A lone figure stepped through, tall, imposing, cloaked in shadows. The mask that hid their face gleamed faintly in the moonlight, and the faint hum of alien energy radiated off their weapons. Elias' pulse jumped. This was the one who had orchestrated the attacks, the mastermind who had remained unseen until now. "You've done well," the figure said, voice low and deliberate. "But loyalty and love are luxuries that will be crushed under necessity." Elias' jaw tightened. "You won't touch her, not while I breathe." Aaron stepped forward, her wings spreading fully now, casting a soft, golden glow across the balcony. "Do not underestimate him," she said, voice calm but with steel beneath. "He is more than a human guard. He is my heart, and anyone who dares threaten it will regret it." The masked figure laughed softly, a sound that made the air chill. "Then let us see whose resolve is stronger." The fight erupted without warning. Weapons clashed. Energy flared. Elias moved with unrelenting precision, every strike a blend of training and instinct. Aaron's power pulsed in waves around them, her true form radiating strength and beauty. Together they were unstoppable, yet the enemy adapted quickly, countering their every move with strategy and cunning. For a moment it seemed like the battle could go either way. The masked figure aimed a strike directly at Aaron. Without hesitation, Elias dove, intercepting it. The impact sent him crashing into the balcony railing. Pain lanced through his side, but he held firm. "You don't understand," he gasped, gripping his dagger. "I'm not leaving her." Aaron's wings shimmered brighter, energy spiraling around Elias as she healed the worst of his injuries. "I trusted you to stay," she whispered. "And you did. You never wavered. That is why you will never fail me." Together they launched a final, combined strike. A human's courage, a princess's power. The masked figure stumbled, overwhelmed by the force of their unity. With one final push, they disarmed the intruder, sending them tumbling over the balcony edge into the unseen depths below. The wind carried a soft scream, then silence. Elias collapsed to one knee, exhausted, battered, but alive. Erin knelt beside him, her hand brushing the sweat and grime from his brow. You did it, she whispered. We did it. He looked at her, eyes full of pain and relief and something far deeper. We survived, he said, because we trusted each other, because we didn't run, didn't hide, didn't doubt. Erin leaned closer, resting her forehead against his. You passed every test I could give you, she said softly. But more than that, you passed the one I never knew I needed to give. You showed me that love isn't weakness, that trust can be stronger than any weapon. Elias' lips curved into a tired, triumphant smile. Then, no more tests. Erin chuckled, faint and warm, wings folding around them like a protective embrace. No more tests, only us. From this moment, everything we face together. The city outside glimmered under the twin moons, peaceful once more. But the palace would never be the same. Neither would they. Their bond had been forged in trials, danger, and unwavering devotion, and now it was unbreakable. Elias took Erin's hand, pressing it to his chest. I've waited a lifetime for this. I'll spend the rest of it proving it. Erin smiled, eyes glistening with tears and joy. And I'll never let you go, not now, not ever. They leaned in, lips meeting in a kiss that sealed not just their love, but their unity against a world that had tested them at every turn. The trials were over. The threats remained in shadows, but together they were unstoppable. And for the first time in a long time, both human and princess, guardian and ruler, allowed themselves to believe in a future without fear. The balcony glowed with the light of moons, wings, and hearts intertwined. Two souls had faced the impossible and emerged stronger, bound not by duty alone, but by love, trust, and the courage to confront the unknown, together. The test had ended. The story of Elias and Erin had only just begun.